Oh, look at the cute little evil men, or death knights. Oh, holy shit, they know flair. Welcome back, everybody. In the last episode, I started a special playthrough of the original Final Fantasy. I rolled 2 dice to decide the experience and gold modifiers, and I rolled 5 dice to generate a party, and I could pick which 4 characters I wanted. I rolled 3 different parties with 3 different modifiers, and I ended up choosing a party of 2 monks, 1 thief, and a red mage, at twice the experience gain and normal gold gains. I just got out of the Earth Cave and beat Lich, the first elemental fiend. Today I continue with my playthrough. So I'll say right now that if you have a party without a warrior, you're at a disadvantage right off the bat. Most players know that the top spot receives 50% of the attacks from enemies, the second player receives 25%, and the 2 bottom characters are targeted at 12.5% each. The warrior is the only class that can effectively tank damage in that top spot, so without him you'll do a ton of constant healing. We have the 2 times experience modifier, so this circumvents the problem a little bit. Hey, blame the dice, not me. Anyway, theoretically, the volcano should be our next stop. If you're doing a challenge run or have a weak party, you actually don't need to go to the volcano. You could go there by the end of the game if you wanted. I have done that before, depending on what party I used. But for this playthrough, we will go there next. Oh, hello White Croc, how are you today? Oh shit, this is a large group. Oh, yikes, am I gonna get obliterated here? Holy crap. So I got 2 party members dead before I even entered a volcano. What a white crock of shit. On the Nintendo version, I'd be screwed here. So the second basement floor in the volcano has this large treasure room. It's usually worth getting all the treasures here, walking back out of the volcano, using a cottage or whatever, then proceed further into the volcano. Oh, hello Horned Devil. How are you, Horned Devil? You Horned Devil. You can reduce the frequency of enemy encounters if you walk into the lava. It only does 1 point of damage to each of your party members and you don't encounter enemies in it. Totally worth it. These maps are really handy. You can see the maze-like layouts of these dungeons. Alright, we have the Ice Brand, always a cool weapon to find. There's an armor to the left of here, but it's guarded by a dragon, and nobody in my party can equip it, it's only for the warrior, so we're gonna skip it and head straight for the boss. So the boss here is Merilith, or Carrie in the Nintendo version. You'd think this boss would be weak against ice, but it's not the case. It doesn't have an elemental weakness. A bit more difficult than Lich, but you can still prevail. Next we head to the Ice Cave. This is another dungeon that can be stressful, especially in the original Nintendo. Let's start off with the Spectres type enemies. These are other enemies who appear in groups, and even worse, they can paralyze your party members, which really gets annoying and can slow your pace down. Wow, there sure are a lot of ghost type enemies in this cave. Are frozen caverns usually known for hosting a lot of spirits of the undead? They like to ice skate or what? And ice wolves. These wolves can use a blizzard attack that can hurt the entire party for decent damage. If a few of them use this attack in a turn, you could be in trouble. But a good secondary fire spell can take care of them. And at least these wolves give decent amount of experience and gold, unlike their earlier counterparts. However, this cave has one enemy that I can never forget. That shot my anxiety up every time I entered this cave. The Mind Flayers, or Sorcerers in the Nintendo version. Getting a group of these is major trouble. First of all, they have paralyzed spells that can hit the entire party at once. Second of all, they have instant death attacks, where they attack a party member and you're just dead. No damage, no counter, no numerals, nothing, just poof, dead. And remember, death is pretty crippling in the original game. Only your white mage could have access to the life spell at this point. But it's less of a problem in the remakes, obviously. Ah, the floater. Probably no item in this game gives you as much happiness as this one. The item that finally gives you access to an airship and opens up a lot of previously unavailable locations in the game. I'm finally getting my airship! Nothing's gonna stop me now! Ah shit, except a few giants right before I get on, it seems. Our next stop is the Citadel of Trials. This is a pretty decent dungeon. It has a strange little labyrinth of warp columns. There's a bit of trial and error and memorization, but nothing too bad. And again, there is a large roster of different types of enemies here. And we get the rat tail. In the Nintendo version, you can step on the tile in front of the throne over and over to trigger a zombie dragons fight. It's a great grinding spot for experience and gold. You gotta take these advantages where you can. Also in this dungeon, you get special weapons that can be used as items for special effects, like the heal staff that can be used over and over without any penalty. There are also other items that can cast the secondary elementary spells or confuse. It kinda neuters your mage characters a bit, because they had to painstakingly learn these spells, but now these items can be just used by anybody with no consequence. The original Nintendo game didn't do a good job of informing the player that they can use these items. You are 2/3 into the game at this point, and none of your equipment before this could ever be used as an item. These remakes have a description that tells you if there's a special effect, but we didn't have this in the Nintendo version. As far as I can remember, no NPCs in the game alludes to this either, so if gamers didn't experiment with these items, they would miss out on their benefits completely, and these items make the game considerably easier. Also, in the Nintendo game, each character had its own slots for carrying weapons and armor, so not everybody could use the equipment as an item. You had to plan carefully, but that micromanaging is gone here. Alright, we reach Bahamut for our new classes. Ah damn, that's a major pet peeve of mine. A random encounter right before opening a treasure chest, or entering a door, or accessing my mode of transportation. So now that my thief has upgraded to a ninja, we have access to the haste spell. This spell increases the number of hits a character does in battle, thus increasing the damage you do. Very useful. The thief gets the most significant upgrade in this game when he changes his class to a ninja. He feels like a whole new character. Access to 4 levels of black magic, he can equip a lot of weapons and armor. He kinda becomes second to the knight in this regard. The other classes are more similar to their early counterparts. They can access certain spells they couldn't before, but otherwise they're basically the same class. Now we get to the caravan, where we buy the bottled fairy. This is a bit difficult to find because it's in an area of the desert that doesn't draw too much attention. Hopefully you paid attention to the informant in the nearby town who tells you where to look. Alright, so now we get Oxy Ale, so we can access the underwater shrine. Oh gosh, a Pyrolisk. And I'm dead. This large group attacks first. Ah yes, the ghost. This enemy always seemed out of place to me. We're beneath the waves in an underwater shrine, and you have the typical undead enemy stationed here. He's weak to fire spells as usual. They hit like a friggin' truck though. I always wondered why they put this enemy down here, so strange. If you have the Zeus armlet, you can use this over and over to hit your enemies with lightning damage and conserve your own magic points. Now we get to the mermaid floor. You get a lot of useful treasures here. Lots of gold, you get the diamond equipment which resists lightning, but only the warrior can equip it. You also get the slab or Rosetta Stone, a mandatory item that allows you to learn a whole new language to speak with natives of a particular city. Now we get to the Kraken. I'm preparing as well as I can, although there might not be a need for it. At twice the experience, I'm probably over-leveled by this point. So let's see how quickly he goes down. Not bad. At normal experience gains, he can be pretty tough. We go to Lafine or Lafinia. You get an item that lets you enter the Mirage Tower, and you have very important level 8 magic if you have the right wizards in your party. Alright, the Mirage Tower. There are a ton of treasures in this dungeon, and some very cool ones at that. You have the Scourge Blade that can be used to snuff out your enemies, some more weapons. Oh gosh, this is a good mix. Cockatrices and Pyrolisks. Petrification or death, take your pick people. So here we are at the Flying Fortress, which is another interesting dungeon. It's not very complex or anything, some great treasures and tons of gold here as well. Although we do get the Evil Eye. Oh, look at the cute little evil men, or death knights. Oh, holy shit, they know flair. Damn, they're not as cute anymore. Alright, so we find the third ribbon. Ribbons are really cool in this game. They protect you against all elemental spells and all status effects. You can get as much as 3. I don't think you can get a fourth one, unless there's an incredibly rare drop somewhere. On the Nintendo version, your party members could only hold up to 4 pieces of equipment each, whether they equipped them or not. So by this point in the game, you had a major problem with inventory space. You had to either drop some equipment or go back to town and sell them. Especially in this dungeon where they give you so many new weapons and equipment. If you didn't have any space left, the treasure chest would only tell you that you have no room, so you didn't even know what weapon or armor was in there. Ah, the good old days of micromanaging your inventory. Ah yes, this place. This is the final bridge before Tiamat, the boss of this long-ass dungeon. But this bridge has a rare enemy called the Warmick, or Omega Weapon, or Omega, whatever they call him here. He's a pretty rare encounter, but if you encountered him, you were almost guaranteed a game over. This machine was a super boss, even more difficult than the elemental fiends themselves. It's kind of a trap that really sucks, because if you encounter him here unprepared, you'll possibly get destroyed and then your entire progress in this dungeon is lost. Maybe not so much with this Pixel Remaster because we get automatic save states, but on the Nintendo, man, it was enough to make a player rage quit. Alright, so luckily we didn't run into the Omega Weapon. Now we get to Tiamat, probably the most difficult of the fiends. He's actually vulnerable to the Bane spell, or Scourge. It's strange yet satisfying to see this boss fall to this spell. The success rate is low though, and I won't attempt it here, we're just gonna fight him fist to fist. Again, I'm a bit overpowered with the 2x experience modifier. And he's out. We finally get to the final dungeon of the game. I thought it was interesting that we went 2000 years into the past. I actually wish we could leave this dungeon, see what the world looked like outside 2000 years ago, but we can't get out. In the Nintendo version, if you don't have the exit spell or the warp spell, you're trapped in this dungeon and can never get out. That could really suck depending on the party you created. Alright, I never used my cheat yet, and although I don't really need it, but just to get some extra grinding quickly. Alright, so I had the choice between 4x experience for 10 battles, 4x gold for 10 battles, or 4x both experience and gold for 5 battles. So for the sake of grinding, I will utilize my 4x experience for 10 battles here. I will post these 10 battles. This floor of the shrine has enemies called the gas dragons, or green dragons in this game. They have a breath attacks that's really dangerous, but winning a battle of 4 of these gives you a huge amount of experience. We don't seem to be encountering them very often. Blah, just the Death Knights again. Alright, 10 battles. We're certainly a bit stronger now. They've really beefed up the final boss in this version, so I'm not afraid to grind a little extra. Returning my modifier to ×2. So we face the Lich again. This Lich actually has the nuke spell or flare spell. I was lucky he didn't use it here, and he goes down. Now we face Merilith, about the same strategy as before. The Kraken, they really beefed up the defenses on these bosses, so you need spells like Temper and Haze to beef up your strength. Alright, now we're on the floor that houses the best weapon of the game by far, the Masamune. Not only is it the strongest weapon, but any class can equip it. Even your weak-ass white mage can become as efficient as a warrior with this weapon. So now we fight Tiamat again, he goes down. In the remakes of this game, you only need to fight these fiends once in this dungeon. However, in the Nintendo version, if you leave this dungeon and come back, you always have to refight these bosses. They're easier on the Nintendo, of course, but they're always placed on the same tile, so you can just trigger the fight over and over. Now we get to the final boss. It's Garland, the very first boss. Through the use of power gained by the four fiends, he becomes a very souped up chaos. So he really does have the power to knock you all down like dominoes this time. I personally think they beefed up the final boss too much. If you attempt to do any challenge runs of this game, you might face a major wall here at the final boss. If you've set your experience modifier to 0.5, he's a major challenge. One of the problems is that this version of the game kind of expects you to return to the caravan where you bought the bottled fairy. You can buy special tonics now to increase your strength, max HP, etc. This wasn't in the original game, so it's a major departure from the original. These tonics increase stats, and you can stack them over and over, so if you use 2 or 3 strength tonics on your strongest character, he stands a chance to do some decent damage to the boss. So you have to use a few rounds to set up your party members, assuming that they don't get killed by Chaos in the first few rounds, but otherwise you'll do crap for damage. Chaos only has 2000 hit points in the original version, so he could go down in a few rounds with a well-prepared party, but the journey to get there was as difficult as the final boss itself. This was kind of the standards for RPGs at the time. But here, Chaos has a whopping 20,000 hit points, which makes sense because your characters are stronger and your levels are higher, and you gain levels more quickly. But even your strongest knight will do very measly damage, so you have to buff yourself up. In every version of this game, Chaos is a Cure 4 or Cure Raja spell, thus completely restoring his hit points, which is a big mood breaker. Obviously, he has access to Flare and other top damaging spells. If you don't have a white wizard who can cast healing spells on the entire party at once, this battle can get pretty difficult, depending on your luck. So I'm all for increasing the difficulty of a final boss, but like I said, if you attempt certain challenge runs, you'll definitely find this boss difficult. You're encouraged to buy those tonics I previously mentioned, so your strategy will pretty much end up being the same no matter what party you use. So I beat Chaos without too much difficulty, but obviously I'm over-leveled. This calls for a celebration.
Oh, the success button. I don't see that very often.
Now, Negativio. I've had plenty of successes before. So that was the original Final Fantasy, a classic favorite of mine. There are expert players who have actually beaten this game at levels 2 or 3. That's very insane. I won't go that far myself though. I might play this again in the future though. I have a few ideas for challenge runs. One would involve rolling the dice for experience and gold modifiers every time I beat one of the elemental fiends, so that could be interesting. Another challenge is what I like to call the levels cap challenge, where every time you beat a boss, you roll a dice to increase your max level cap, so as soon as you reach that level, you have to turn off your modifiers. These runs won't be right away, but sometime in the future. But before I go, I will recommend a few playthroughs you could try. Obviously, you could try the challenge I did in this video, roll 2 dice for the modifiers and 4 or 5 dice to decide your party. Do it 3 times if you like and decide on the playthrough you think would be the most interesting or fun. Another recommendation I like to call old school. This would be putting the modifiers for experience and gold at 0.5. Create any party you want. This would be on par with the difficulty of the Nintendo version, although the Nintendo version is still more difficult than this. It's slow and grindy, but that was the spirit of the older RPGs of decades ago. Another challenge run would be putting your gold modifier at 0. You can put your experience modifier at ×1 or 2, create any party you want. This playthrough is interesting because you have to be a lot more careful on how you spend your gold. Getting every treasure chest in the game becomes much more important, thus the term dungeon crawling. You'll have to decide which spell you absolutely need for your mages, or what weapon and equipment you absolutely need for your fighters. This game usually gives you more than enough gold and treasure chests to eventually buy everything you need, but it's a very interesting playthrough that I've tried before. Be forewarned though that one of the most difficult areas in the game is around Elfheim and the Marsh Cave. There are a lot of enemies who can poison your party members, and early on you have very limited gold, so it's difficult to buy a lot of antidotes. So approach with caution. That's it for today, so give me a like, comment, subscribe to my channel, and let me know in the comments if you'd like me to do a new challenge run for this game sooner than later. Also, have you ever done any of these special challenges? Either with specific party setups or modifiers, or other restrictions? Let me know, I'm curious to hear your stories. Keep gaming, everyone.